I got saved when I was a very young child, when I was 8 years old. When I was 10 years old, there was a missionary couple that came to our church and she spoke. And at the end of the service, they asked for those who felt like the Lord was laying mission work on their hearts to come forward so that they could pray for them. And I was one of those children that came forward. And that always left an impression with me. And from that time on, God always spoke to my heart about missions. As I grew older, I didn't know what to do about that call that God had placed in my heart, so it stayed hidden. I didn't ever feel worthy to come and do something like that, but God always had that love for sharing His gospel and His story with people.
2002, I went on a mission trip down in the Caribbean, and God touched my life and changed me completely. And in that process, revealed to me that He wanted me to go and work with my wife and to a place that the rest of the world had forgotten.
So 40 years later, when Alan was called by God into missions, full-time mission work, I was already prepared and eager to go.
I didn't know about Lesotho at that time. I thought he was going to take us back down to the Caribbean. But in the process of committing to God that we would go to a place that the world had forgotten, eventually the process revealed Lesotho and the Basotho people, and they are truly forgotten people.
When we went through the IMB, the International Mission Board for the Southern Baptist, we were given a whole stack of job needs throughout the world. Lesotho, I never even heard of Lesotho. I had no idea what that nation was, where it was, anything about it. We told God we'd do anything, and then when we got the job needs, Alan and I said, well, we don't want to go to India and we don't want to go to Africa, so we pulled all those out. Somehow Lesotho stayed in there, and we never really looked at it seriously. But when we got down and we'd prayed about all of them, it stayed in there, and when we got down to the last 6, it was in there. And we said, okay, we're going to really, really seek God on this one more time. And when we got through, well, when I read the one on Lesotho, I knew it wasn't just words on a paper. It was a vision that God gave me. And I said, Alan, you need to read this. This is where we got to go. And when he read it, he knew too. So we ended up here in Lesotho, and it was really a God thing. It wasn't anything we had anything to do with. But it was totally God's leading and opening that door. We're two of the most unlikely people to do what God has tasked to do.
Adoption was not on our radar screen. We didn't come to Lesotho to adopt. But in the process of getting to know some missionaries in Maseru, some volunteer missionaries, some young girls, in fact, that worked at an orphanage, they invited us to a Christmas party. And we went early on Christmas morning.
When we got there, Mahal just was attracted to Alan and would never leave his side. He just clung to him. And I kind of looked around the room. I just love all the kids, you know. I would have taken them all if I could have. But I saw this one little boy. He seemed so little. And he was sitting and he was like overwhelmed because there were Christmas gifts.
And Babs sort of sidled up to another little fella who was shy and didn't know what Christmas was all about. And before that day was over, I think we both knew that Daniel and Mahal were going to become part of our life.
So after we had left, because we had to go and preach right after that, after we had left that night, Alan says, I want you to pray about Mahal. I want you to pray about maybe let's adopting him. And I said, okay, I'll pray about him, but I want you to pray about Daniel. You know, at the time it was Karabo.
So the process evolved, and we got to know them more and more, and we realized that there was no way that we could live our life without them, that God had been saving them for us. And they're just, I don't know how they couldn't be part of our life.
And I know that there were others who tried to make application for the boys, but it was never approved or didn't go through for one reason or another. So we know that God saved them for us.
He saved them for us, and they're our sons. I like to tell people that we have adopted children. I forget sometimes which two they are.